Okay, so let's just very quickly go through the beginning of these instructions for the statistics exercise, or rather the working with statistical data in a GIS exercise. So in this exercise we're going to download data from Statistics Sweden, SCB, and then we're going to visualize these statistics in our GIS, in ArcGIS Pro in this case. My suggestion to you now is to read through the instructions. You should have done this already, and make notes. We're going to make notes of what needs to be downloaded to begin with, because we're going to have to move through their website, finding different parts of data that we want. And keeping track of where we are might not be straightforward. So I suggest that what you do is you read through this where we've got download data. Try and understand what's being said there, and maybe write some notes. Like I've written notes here just to demonstrate. They're not very clear notes, but I've just put little arrows next to the things that need downloading so that I know where they are. The headlines of where I should be, the sort of things I'm looking for on the web page that I've taken out from the instructions that we've got here. And this, generally speaking, will lead us to where we want to go. So if we now click on the link here, that takes us to their website. And the thing I can read in the instructions is that I need to be looking for this thing called regionalstatistik och kartor. And that we can read in the instructions here. I picked this out and I made a little note of that. That's where I want to go, and then I want to go down to this geodata thing and then open geodata. So I need to look for that, and if we click on this hitta statistik and we go down and click on there, that seems to be the right place to go. And then what was the next thing I wanted? Oh, it was this geodata. I'm looking on my list, the steps I've made, click on there, öppna geodata, click on that, and I've got to the place where I want to be. Now there's some information to read here, which I really do suggest you do read if you can read Swedish. If you can't, then basically this is telling us that SCB offers this data, and you can access other data via this thing called Geodataportalen, which frankly is not terribly easy to navigate through, and the data that you're being offered isn't always what you think it is. Half the time you end up being sent back to this web page or another government authority's web page where the data isn't always easily available. It's a nice idea, it just doesn't really work very well. So what do we need to do? We need to download data. I've written down here, I need to find data som SCB ansvarar för enligt... Oh, look at that, there we go. And then under that, statistik på rutor. Yeah, so let's have a look. Where do we have that? Statistik på rutor, there we go. That's the statistics in squares, which is a good idea, I suppose. And then we want this befolkning totalt, right, so the total population, befolkning totalt, and then we need to download that. We're going to download it somewhere. Where are we going to download it to? Well, if we go to our project folder, which you should all have. Now I'm saving this on my C drive because I have access to my C drive because this is my work computer. Maybe you're working on your own computer at home, but you're probably working via remote desktop or something similar, and this is probably they're going to be H colon for homes, and then your name, and you've created a folder called documents or document, whichever you've done, that you should have already done now, that should be there in place, and then in that you've got this SBG051 for this course, a folder for that, and inside that you now have folders for docs, which is where the instructions are. You've got a folder for the final, which is the things you're going to deliver, the things you're going to submit for grading, because delivery, as it were. And then you've got a folder called raw data, which is where we store things. And then right now you've probably got exercise 1 and exercise 2, and none of these others you've got implemented yet, because you haven't got that far in the course. Obviously, I've done all this several times in order to make sure everything works. So I've got these projects here. You won't have all of these yet. Today we're going to create this exercise 3, and then next week will be exercise 4, and so on. You won't ever get test area, that's for me. Project that comes at the end of the course. And no peeking. So what we want now is to go to make sure we've got raw data, and then we look in raw data. Again, I've got something here called hide that you don't have, because that's where I'm hiding lots of stuff that I've already worked with and I don't want to get in the way of these demonstrations. And I have a folder called SCB. You should have a folder called SCB. Right now, empty. Not a problem. We're going to fill it up with data. So we go back to the SCB webpage, and what we wanted to do was we wanted to download data for the population total, befolkning totalt, and we're going to download this geo package. So we're going to click on that, and it's going to ask us where we want to download data to. So we're going to find the location for this. As you can see, I've got lots of folders to do with this course, and we click on more data there, and we go to SCB because this is SCB data, and we're getting this zip file here, total befolkning 1 kilometer, and then there's this date, and it's 2012-31. That might not be entirely clear as to what that means, but it actually is the 31st of December 2020. So that's when the statistics are assumed to be relevant for. End of the year 2020. It's the latest available data. As I'm making this film, this will change every year, but the work we're going to do now is going to be essentially the same. It may just look slightly different from year to year as the situation changes. There should be no dramatic differences in the data, but how you approach it should be the same. So let's just click on save there. And then the next thing we wanted, so we had by year, or by 5-year groups. So the population by age groups, 5-year bins. So we click on this, and it's going to come in the coordinate system SWIRF99TM. Which is the Swedish national grid, as it were. The SWIRF99 is our datum, the spherical model or ball-shaped model of the Earth, TM being the projection that covers, or from this ball-shaped model that covers the whole of Sweden. It's a Mercator, transverse Mercator projection, following the UTM designations, but spread out to cover the whole country. So let's just click on that, and we're going to download that. Same thing with the date, click save there. And the next thing, now I wanted to go back to geodata. So there we go, let's click on geodata, and then I said I want to go to Apneo data. So that should be somewhere, I'm in Apneo data, and then I want diesel. Okay, demografiska, statistiska mål, so let's click on that. And then it says, I want the digitala gränser, dieselgränsen. Right, okay. So I can also click on this link to find out more about what these things are, which I suggest you do if you can read Swedish. There is an explanation of these in English in the instructions, but let's just click on that for now, and we're going to get these and download them. Save. But if you should click on that link and try to understand what all these codes are about. There are 3 levels of code in there with some, so we have the A and the B and the C areas, where A is this large area, less dense population. B is sort of a dense population, towns, that sort of thing, and then C is the sort of the main town in that county or borough. So I downloaded those, and then in my notes that I've made from these instructions, I've just made these notes, and we've got this one last thing to do. We need to go back to the page here, and we want to look for this regional statistik och kartor again. Let's click on that, and then we want regionala indelningar, so how the regions are divided up, and then we want these digital borders, digitala gränser. Click on that, and we're going to download this län, kommuner, FA-regioner och LA-regioner AQ shape. So this is a shape file that we're going to be downloading. This is a format that ESRI created many years ago, and it became somewhat of an industry standard. It's open. They published a white paper so that everybody could understand the format and make their own readers, so that lots of different programs can read shapefile format. So it became, as I said, a sort of standard. We're moving away from it now as a standard. We're going more over to databases. Esri themselves work more with a geodatabase, file geodatabase and personal geodatabase within their software. QGIS uses the geo package, which we've seen here in a couple of places, although the geo package isn't, strictly speaking, locked to QGIS. Geo package is actually open source. It's an SQLite database within there. Technical details, don't worry about them. What we want is the shapefile. We'll deal with that in a minute. We'll download this. All of these are going to be geo packages. This one is shapefiles, so we'll save those. So that's it. We've downloaded that data for now. That was the list of instructions for getting through this, downloading the data. Now we need to go to extracting the data, because we've downloaded it and we need to actually open it up. So let's have a look at what we've got. We've got these four files here. 3 of them are zipped geo packages and 1 of them is zipped shape files. So let's just right click on this top one here. Now I can either go to Extrahere alla, extract all, or 7-zip. If you've got 7-zip, I would recommend it. And if we read here using 7-zip, it suggests that you use / when, because there are lots of ways of doing this. What this means is, and we don't actually have / in this variant, extract files, we can either do extract here or extract files ... So what does all this mean? Well, let's try doing this one. If we do one at a time, we can do that. And then that just creates a folder with the same name, and if we click in there, we've got our geo package. Let's just erase that for now, just as a demonstration. So, and what would happen if we did something else? If we did 7-zip and then extract files, extract here, click on that. Then we just get the geo package straight there. It pulled it out of the folder. And when we have these single geo packages, that might not be too bad. Let's just erase that again. And then if we click on that one, and that one, and that one. Remember, this is the shape files. We're not going to open those just yet. They're a little different. If we right click on those, we go to 7-zip, and we get this extract to / here. That would create 3 folders. We can do that now. Let's do that. So then we get the 3 folders representing those 3 zip files, and within each of those we have one single geo package. Why are we going through all this detail? Just to confuse you? No, just to see what the different variants do. Maybe we can tidy things up a bit in all of this data mess. But if we click that one, and that one, right click, go to 7-zip and extract to here, then we just get these geo packages. We don't need the folder, the geo packages are right there. And now that's done, we can actually just delete those zip files. So we've got the interesting bit, we've got the thing we're after, which is the geo package files. We've got all 3 of those there. We've got one last thing to deal with. Let's click on that, and we can do a similar examination. We could extract files, extract here, we could extract to this folder, which I think you might try doing. Let's just do that. And what does that folder look like? Then we've got a whole bunch of other folders inside it, which is, yeah, it's something that we just have to deal with. We do that by right-clicking, and I suggest, in this case, that we extract to /, because when we look inside these, let's have a look at this LAN here, the LAN. We can see that actually each folder contains several files. So this is part of the shapefile arrangement. This is what shapefiles are. This is the SHP here is the one containing the geometry of the data. This is a vector format, so this contains the geometry of the things that are going to be shown on screen. And then we have this DBF, which is the database file, which contains our attribute table with everything that we need to know about the objects stored in this SHP. And then we have this PRJ file, which is the projection file that tells the computer what coordinate system is being used and how to take this geometry and put it into our GIS. And then we have a little bit of other data here in this SHX file, let's not worry about them. We can actually have several more files. A shape file can actually consist of 6, 7 different files, but really the minimum we want is, I think you can get away with 3 of these files. I think the minimum is, you don't always have a projection file, which means it's not defined as being anywhere on the earth, it's just some stuff. But so 3 or 4, I think the 3 is a minimum, 4 is a better minimum. But you can have several other files with details on other bits and pieces that you might want to have included, visualize it, how to visualize the data and stuff like that. So that's those unpackaged. Let's delete the zips because they're just taking up space. Take those away. So in here we've got similar setup, and we've kept those in their folders because it's such a mess with all these 4 things. Whereas with the geo packages, these GPKGs, everything is contained in that one package and that one file. So we don't need to maintain order using folders. We can also get rid of this, get rid of that, and now we've got from SEB we've got a folder with a bunch of other folders containing a bunch of files that are shape files, and then we've got these 3 packages. So we've unzipped everything and we've got it ready to put into our project. And the project it will start with in the next film.